there were other discussions that were had during this interview, particularly about the Mueller report. I really enjoyed this exchange, so let's take a quick look.
I have a phony witch hunt, which is just a phony pile of stuff. Mueller comes out, there's no collusion, and essentially a ruling that no obstruction, and they keep going with it. You know what? People are angry about it.
I don't think that's what he found, but we don't have time for that now. We'll talk about that later.
That is what he found. Excuse me. He found no collusion, and he didn't find anything having to do with obstruction because they made a ruling based on his findings, and they said no obstruction.
He didn't examine collusion. He laid out evidence of obstruction.
Oh, are you trying to say now that there was collusion, even though he said there is no collusion?
He didn't say there's no collusion.
He said no collusion.
He said he didn't look at collusion.
George, the report said no collusion.
Did you read the report?
Yes, I did, and you should read it too.
I read
Come on,
it.
let's go. Let's go. Well, you should read it too, George.
I love how he just walked out of the car because he got uncomfortable. The Mueller report, which Trump obviously didn't read because he doesn't like to read, did not clear him of collusion. The Mueller report focused on conspiracy and indicated there was not enough evidence to find Trump guilty of conspiracy. Right? So collusion is not what Mueller was specifically referencing. And the report does find instances of obstruction of justice, but Trump doesn't like that fact, so he walks out of the car once he's called out on it.
Yeah, look, I think the difference between collusion and conspiracy is splitting hairs a little bit. But Stephanopoulos is definitely technically correct. And he's trying to explain that. He's not trying to split hairs. He's just saying, look, they didn't talk about collusion. That's a broader topic. So for example, I think that Donald Trump colluded with the Russians in terms of money laundering well before his elections. And I'm worried that he colluded with them afterwards. That doesn't mean he colluded during the election to get him the victory in the first place. So that's why it's a broader term. And Stephanopoulos is right to parse out what happened there, but I'm not like overly worried about Trump saying no collusion. That's his code word for no conspiracy during the election. That's fine. That's not a big deal. But when he says, well, the report summarizing it said no obstruction. Yeah, your attorney general, who is a lackey and who you picked because he said that he doesn't believe in the report and doesn't believe that you should be investigated, came out and mischaracterized the report, and Mueller came out and said, that's clearly not what we said. Everyone in the country now knows, or a lot of people know, and everybody in the political world knows that in fact Mueller did think there was obstruction. That's why he laid out over 10 cases of obstruction, and then went on TV and said, if we thought he didn't do it, we would have told you, and we didn't tell you. In other words, of course he did it. He did the obstruction. There's no question about it.
Exactly.
The only people who believe there is not enough evidence for obstruction right now are Donald Trump and Nancy Pelosi.
Burn. Okay, so other notable parts of the interview that I wanted to mention, the issue with North Korea and the deal/non-deal that Trump made with Kim Jong Un. Trump said during the interview that he hopes North Korean dictator Kim Jong Un isn't building nuclear weapons because, quote, he likes me a lot. So that is his foreign policy strategy when it comes to North Korea, which is a disaster. Also, he falsely claimed that he did not campaign for the House during the 2018 midterms. Trump claimed that, he only focused on the Senate, which is why the Republicans have maintained dominance in the Senate, but that is not the case. In fact, the Brookings Institution found that the president endorsed 75 House and Senate candidates during the 2018 election, of whom 55% won their races. Of the nearly 40 candidates Trump hit the campaign trail for, who were largely in safe Republican districts, 64% of them won.
It's not a good record when they're safe Republican districts, but he I didn't do the House, except you did 40 of them.
That's right.
And by the way, they lost by 40. So now I want to go back to North Korea for a second because there's a hilarious part that they didn't put into the main interview, but that exists on tape, and they also released later. When talking about the letters that the love letters that he's writing back and forth with Kim Jong Un, he said. He talked about how Kim Jong Un wrote a nice letter about him, and he said, "I will actually show you the letter, but I'd show it to you a little bit off the record, but it was a very nice letter." First of all, there is no such thing as a little bit off the record, right? And if it's classified, No, don't show it to him. Don't do that. But he's like, but it was a nice letter. He said nice things about me. I want to show it to you. I want to show it to you, even though it's classified. I send people to prison for that, but I'd like to show it to you a little bit off the record. All right, and then he goes on. But I've received many very nice letters.
I can't.
Who cares? Who cares that he sent you nice letters? Okay, he continues, and he's a very tough guy. He's a very smart person. He doesn't treat a lot of people very well, but he's been treating me well.
Oh my God.
Oh, Jesus Christ, that's like saying, well, Hitler has concentration camps, but that makes him a tough guy and a very smart guy. He's got a lot of camps. He doesn't treat people very well, but he treats me well. He wrote me a nice letter. I'd like to show you the letter. And by the way, that's not that far off as an analogy, because Kim Jong Un also has concentration camps. And the way that he has treated his own people is historic. It's one of the most brutal regimes of our lifetimes. And so, but this man-child is like, but he wrote me a nice letter. This is the same guy who earlier had said that he had, quote, fallen in love with Kim Jong Un. And my God, if a Democrat had said that. If Nancy Pelosi had said she'd fallen in love with Kim Jong Un, would the Republicans ever stop talking about it? I'm not even done. He goes on to say, right now we have a very good, relationship. We have a really very strong relationship.
Hasn't North Korea already stockpiled nuclear weapons?
Yes, and Stephanopoulos said, they have 30 nukes already. He said, well, look, I don't, first of all, I didn't, in terms of trusting him, even though he has 30 nukes, he said, but it would be very insulting to him. Like if he said, I don't trust you because behind my back you built 30 nukes. I mean, you don't want to insult him because he's sending me such nice letters. Last one, he says, I think I understand him, and I think he understands me. And he promised me he wouldn't be doing
Oh my God,
testing.
I can't. This is,
okay.
He is banking on letters from a dictator in order to make decisions about US foreign policy toward an adversary.
Right now, Neville Chamberlain is somewhere going, yes, this guy's making me look strong in comparison. Whatever's the opposite of rolling over in your grave. He said he promised me he wouldn't be doing testing. He did the testing in May. 2 different sets of missile tests in May. We already know he did it, and we already know he has the nukes. Trump turns around and says, oh, Iran, we are never going to let them enrich their uranium, okay? So we can't do any kind of deal with Iran because, my God, they might get nukes. Your buddy, your lover, already has 30 nukes, and you're letting him get away with it because he wrote a nice letter. Hey, Rouhani in Iran and Maduro in Venezuela, you know what? The good news is you might solve your problems. All you have to do is write him a nice letter and say, oh, Mr. Trump, you are an incredible leader and I love you. He might be like, oh, that's fine. We're fine with Iran. We're fine with Venezuela. They like me, they like me. This man-child, 25th Amendment, do it right now, except there's no one with any courage or bravery in Washington, Republican or Democrat. They're gonna let this madman continue to be our president. Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.